Now, I've heard a lot of Dave Ramsey takes, right? I agree with a lot of Dave Ramsey takes. One of them being his 7 baby steps. Now, if you're not familiar with his baby steps, it's one, save $1,000 for your starter emergency fund. This isn't gonna be your normal emergency fund. This is gonna be your starter emergency fund. Later down the road, we'll get into the 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Number two, it's going to be paying off all of your debt. It's going to be except the house, right? Because there's such thing as good debt and there's such things as bad debt. Now, bad debt, as you can imagine, is going to be like a credit card or, payday loans. If you have any of those, you need to get rid of them. APY, I think, is like 30% on average for a credit card today. It might be a little bit lower, but after that, it's going to be now you're getting into the real emergency fund, the 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Of course, this is going to be different depending on who you are, the situation that you're in. If you have people that, rely on your income, you have to provide for them. You can't afford to not do that, right? And this is the event of exactly that, right? An emergency. After that, step four is going to be investing 15% of your household income into your retirement. And there's going to be separate ways of doing this, right? The first one's going to be your IRA. The second one's going to be your 401k, or if you're in the government, a TSP. There's going to be a trickle down effect of how you're investing, right? Because if you're investing in something that's a Roth, right, that's going to be taxed up front. And whenever you get the money out, you don't have to worry about the taxes. Now, the next one after that, now he says in your strictly in the retirement, like again, I'm gonna differ with Dave Ramsey on a few takes. For this one, for the 15%, again, like I also agree with ETF because this is the way that it should work, right? You should contribute to your IRA. You should contribute to a 401k. You should also work on like actual investments in the stock market, a brokerage account, a money market account, bonds. Like there should be a trickle down. Like hypothetically, right? If you have your starter emergency fund, if you have no debt, if you have your emergency fund, okay, well now we can start working on the things that actually can grow money, right? Actually can grow assets over time, right? Not small, not but like when you're talking about growing money, it helps if you actually have money, right? So you're gonna have one, two, three, four, right? These are literally just gonna be dripping money pots where if you have money in one thing, it'll trickle into the next, which will trickle into the next, right? Like an IRA, max realistically for most people is gonna be like $8,000 to $9,000 a year. And then you could start doing maybe like an employee match, right? You should work on that first, right? Because that's a guaranteed 100% return. Now, the next one is going to be your kids' college fund. Now, many people, I made a video about this, aren't even having kids, right? So if you're not having kids, that's one step that's, out of the equation for you. But realistically, I treat this as like a later step, right? This should be after your house is paid off, right? Yes, it would be amazing for you to give off generational wealth, but one of the best forms of passing off generational wealth is what? Home, real estate, equity, right? Now, if you're talking about your kids' college funds, there's ways that I talk about having college essentially minimized, and there's going to be separate ways that I'll talk about that in separate videos. So make sure you subscribe for the content for that. But there's going to be different ways for you to worry about it, right? And then last and final, I already talked about home paying off early, right? I believe it should be up higher on the list, along with maybe a 15% year instead of a 30 mortgage. But final, build wealth and give, right? This is going to be a general statement because it's going to be different depending on who you are, how you make your money, where you live, the cost of living. If your plan is to retire early, like, right, there's so much that goes into this. But Dave Ramsey has always talked about this largest study that he's done with multimillionaires and millionaires and talked to over 10,000 millionaires, right? I found, just a quick, if you don't know what I'm talking about.
We did the largest study of millionaires ever done in North America, 10,167 of them. The number of them that became millionaires using Bitcoin was precisely zero. The number of them that used single stocks playing a day trader game was under 5%. So you need to decide if your plan sucks as bad as I think it does.
Well, would you recommend
Now, what he's talking about is he had someone call into his show, which essentially said, what should I do with my crypto? And he gave a rebuttal, right? Most people don't make their millions on crypto. Most people, if anything, lose 99.9% of their money in crypto. So that's one thing you need to take away from, right? Because if you're going to ask someone with a fiduciary responsibility, they're going to send you to the baby steps, right? Do you have an emergency fund? Realistically, I think this person in this call, they didn't have an emergency fund. So, of course, Dave's going to say, no, you need to worry about today rather than 20 years down the road, which most people don't even think about, right? So, it's just take off what you believe and tailor it to your lifestyle.
Cashing out of my individual stocks and crypto and keeping that all in cash.
Apparently, that's what I just told you.
So don't invest that in anything else. Keep it sitting in cash up until I'm able to.
You need an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses, and you need to be debt free, paying off that stupid car by the end of the day. And then you start building in cash your down payment on your house. And then when you get your house, you start putting 15% of your income away into good growth stock mutual funds in your 401k at your new great job. And you're going to be a millionaire doing that by the time you're 35.
Now, he wasn't wrong with how you should do it, but there's a few takeaways on how the steps to process it, right? Because he's really big on paying cash for your house. Most people are not going to save up $500,000 to pay cash for their house, right? And I'm a proponent for that. You shouldn't do that, right? The best thing that you should do is probably like a 15-year mortgage loan against it. You shouldn't pay $500,000. When we talk, and I'll get further into it in this study, but his national study of millionaires, talks about the employment ways that people make money, and one of them can't afford, or many of them can't afford to save up $500,000. Right now, going down to this article, and this is a recent article, which is the October 3rd, 2024, which is finally published on their website for the National Study of Millionaires. I'm sure that there's going to be a further case study on it, right? Like, there's gonna be more case studies that he's gonna probably talk about, because when you talk about talking to 10,000 people, that's a lot of information to take away, right? If you're gonna be talking to 10,000 people, like it can't be consolidated into a 9-page PDF, which I'll have it linked down in the description. I'll add it later in the video. Don't forget to comment for me to remember. But this is the National Study of Millionaires, and a lot of the things, which I think we can tailor it to people that are making around $40,000 to $70,000, right? The average working citizen, the average working, and if you don't know what the career fields that you need to work in, it's okay. I got you covered. There's going to be a few breaking down into this video, right? Now, don't forget to hydrate, because this is going to be a deep dive, right? The National Study of Millionaires, the American Dream is alive and available. Now, this is all obviously depending on the position that you're in, right? The skill, the career, the industry, the sector that you work in. This is, of course, completed by the Ramsey Solutions. The American Dream is alive. Now, when I think about the American Dream, I'm thinking about the white picket fence, making a good amount of money, living in suburbia, having a dog, maybe like an acre of land, living with your family out and not worrying about, the grocery bills being $200, right? Because that's essentially what it is. The American Dream can be called, or America can be called the land of opportunity, but few Americans today really believe that when it comes to become wealthy. Now, obviously, wealthy is going to depend on who you are, what you believe in, the number it takes for you to be wealthy. For me, I think anywhere, 10 million and above. But I understand that level of wealth is probably decades from now, for me anyways. If you're making $10 million, then you need to understand, or if you're worth $10 million, then you need to understand that that's not going to come overnight. That's going to be a slow grind. And in fact, most people, if you ever read the Millionaire Next Door, they're not under 30, right? They're not starting some dropshipping business. They're getting into a career that actually pays based on competence, right? What was it? Competence gets compensated. But the National Study of Millionaires by Ramsey Solutions proves that these beliefs are about how millionaires got their money are wrong, flat wrong. And I made a video about Iman Gadzhi, who is another YouTube entrepreneur selling courses, and he's pushing the whole, get your money with starting agencies, and he started his by selling agency incubators. So I found that funny, but that's not the average. That's not the average millionaire. The average millionaire is like 65, lived a full life. Ramsey Solutions wanted to determine how millionaires gained their wealth and what factors were necessary for the average person in America to reach millionaire status and become the largest and most significant Okay, so I don't know of any research study, so therefore, this has complete credibility to me, right? If you're going to ask 10,000 people who all are millionaires, I feel like we should take advantage of what they're trying to say, right? So how did all of these people hit the $1 million mark? Well, most of them did it through consistent investing, avoiding debt, and smart spending. No lottery tickets, no inheritance, no six-figure incomes. That's one thing that, I'm not gonna lie, caught me by surprise. Really, which is great for Americans who lost hope that they can never build wealth in their lifetime. Now, obviously, that this is likely going to be skewed to people who are able to collect and compound wealth over what the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, possibly purchase a home during the recession, during the down period, not really having to worry about inflation affecting their careers as much in 2020s. But understand that we can take away a lot of this information. How millionaires invest and spend. Now, according to the survey, 8 out of 10 millionaires invested in the company's 401k plan. Okay, so right off the bat, you need to be investing in your retirement fund. That's it. Start off early. If your employer has a match, take advantage of that. That's even gonna line up with this. Now, let's just start from scratch, right? And let's use what the millionaires are doing to take advantage of that, right? So even if you follow the baby steps of Ramsey, even if you follow your own baby steps, what we're going to do is take away a lot of the information from this study and equate it to ourselves, right? So number one, you are going to take advantage of your company's 401k. If you don't have an employer that has a 401k, understand that there's other benefits, maybe like a personal IRA that you can take advantage of, because that's also towards your retirement. How millionaires spend and invest their money. Not only that, but 3 out of 4 of those, so 75%, also invested outside of the company plans, right? So that's going to be 401k, that's going to be IRA, and that's also going to be individual stocks or brokerage accounts or money market accounts, bonds, investing in outside utilities, right? 8 out of the 10 millionaires invest in the company's IRA. So follow what the 80% are doing, right? Like don't worry about what the 10%, the less than 10% are doing. Follow the money. Follow what the millionaires put their money into. Why would you follow anything else, right? 8 out of 10 millionaires are investing in their company's 401k, but they didn't risk the money in a single stock investment, right? There's so many people who are talking about investing in Nvidia, investing in Apple, investing in Microsoft. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm still here. Hold on. Let's look at the $5,000 portfolio, right? You guys are, if you're following the journey, I've been investing $100 a month just to hit $5,000, and we're right on the door. Hold on. Let's bring this up, right? And we just deposited the money. So, looking at, right, we are at, hold on, $4,895, right? This is just with $100 in an ETF. If you follow the journey, follow the journey. It's on my video on my channel. But whenever this account hits $5,000, I'll be making a video about it, and it should be hit very soon. There's just a dip. I'm gonna buy in. But they didn't risk money on a single stock investment, an opportunity couldn't pass up. In fact, no millionaire in the study said a single stock investment was the biggest factor or a big factor for their financial success. Single stocks didn't even make the top 3 list of factors reaching their net worth. Okay, that's really interesting. Now, I would imagine that if there was a list of like net worth factors for hitting that, it would be real estate, right? Like a home, their retirement fund, maybe like an ETF, right? Like a whole market fund, not an individual stock, right? Like if you had someone that was like, yo, I YOLO'd on Bitcoin, I'd imagine that's like 1 out of the million, right? 3 out of 4 millionaires, 75% said that regular, consistent investing over a long period is a reason for their success. Now, this is time and time again, and this literally is the Warren Buffett method. If you're not familiar, Warren Buffett is like the longest living multi-billionaire for just value compounding growth. And if you don't believe me, go follow what he's doing, right? So the story about the young computer genius who developed an app and earned millions overnight is the exception and not the rule. That's a great takeaway. That's bars when you talk. I mean, unless you talked to and got the data from 10,000 millionaires, then your data is not worth it. 3 out of 4 millionaires said regular. Yep. So literally, investing in your company's 401k, your personal IRA, or investing period, regularly over time compounds growth. Who would have thunk that, right? You control your destiny with your behavior. Personal finance is 80% behavior and 20% head knowledge as I learn to control my money. Now, clearly, many people understand what it takes to budget. Not many people actually do the budget, right? His newest book, of course, you got to pitch that book in there, right? Even when millionaires don't have to worry about money no more, they're still careful about spending. Because not only not only does it take money or knowledge to make the money, but it's like a second key of trying to keep the money. 94% of the people studied said they live on less than they make. The two steps of getting true wealth, true income, is making more and spending less. Those are the only two steps that you could do, right? You can make more, spend less. Those are the two things, right? It's gonna over time. If you make more and spend less, you're going to compound growth, right? It's common sense. But 80% is behavior, 20% is head knowledge. I like that. They said that they live on less than they make. These millionaires also said that they spend $200 or less each month at restaurants. That's really low. So they don't go out, period, right? They don't go out, period. And 93% of the millionaires use coupons. Are all okay. Okay, so if I were to say that I use coupons, I don't. I take advantage of like my shopping grocery card. So if you shop out, like if you like, he says don't have to go out to eat, but if you use McDonald's, you're going to take advantage of their apps. You're going to take advantage of their deals. You're going to take advantage of their coupons. If you shop at Walmart, you're going to take advantage of the value sales, right? So you need to take advantage of some discount that's being offered. If you shop at Costco, you're going to go get gas because you're going to get the 5% off. By staying out of debt and watching expenses. Credit cards are probably, for me, the biggest disagreements that I have with Dave Ramsey. I put everything on my card, but I also don't spend anything outside of what I need to buy. I don't have anything. I'm very simple. This shirt is like 7 years old. Don't judge me. But like there's a level between like cheap, frugal, and like just wastefully having money, right? Just because I have money doesn't mean that I'll spend it. So for me, credit cards aren't an issue, and I spend less than I make, and I pay it off at the end of each month. So what I do is I also take advantage of those credit card discounts. And by staying out of debt, paying it off at each month, and watching expenses, they're able to build their bank accounts instead of trying to get out of the financial hole every month. That's a big thing because so many people have all of this debt that they're carrying around that you need to understand that there's no such thing as good debt, right? Like unless you have, there are car loans that are like a 0% APR. If you have like a God-given interest rate versus like you're able to invest it, then good on you. Millionaires are made and not born. Despite what society may believe, only a small number of wealthy people actually inherited their money. An overwhelming majority, 79% of millionaires in the US, did not receive any inheritance at all from their parents and or family members, while 1 in 5, 21%, received some inheritance, and only 3% received an inheritance of $1 million or more. Okay, so man, that's good to know, right? So you're already 8 out of 10 people didn't receive anything, and yet they got to that level, right? That just goes to show the level of compounding growth over the long period of time, right? Like, and only 3% of people actually even got that money. So when you're talking about the born with the silver spoon in your mouth, right? Being able to have someone who's able to even pass anything down to you, that's less than 3%. In fact, the majority of millionaires didn't even grow up with a lot of money. And according to the survey, 8 out of 10 millionaires come from a family at or below middle. Okay, so most people weren't even, so that's one of those things. Like there's a difference between someone who's made money because they come from struggle backgrounds, right? They understand how to not spend it. They understand that they're going to save it because they don't want to live that life in perpetuality, right? Only 2% of millionaire surveys said that they come from an upper income family. So realistically, when you think about upper income, we're going to talk about just say $200,000 or more, right? If you have $200,000 or more, it's most households understand finances if you come from a household with finances, right? That's surprise, surprise. It's not shocking there, right? And only 2% of the millionaires come from that kind of lifestyle. So even if you want to talk about the millionaires that are already privileged, just understand that a majority of millionaires don't come from that privilege that you're talking about. And in fact, like I think it's what, 3 generations removed, essentially just, completely go downhill from there. So that, it is what it is. I want to get people to the place where they can believe that they can actually do it, become a millionaire. There's so many in the marketplace, hope stealers. It can be done by anything. And realistically, when we're talking about the money that we're talking about, which in this case is $1 million, you're not going to get there overnight, right? So it's good to say that a lot of people can say, what is that Will Smith bar? Those who say you can't, those who say you can are both right. It's all up to you, right? So you need to understand that this isn't going to be a slow grind. This is going to be a long grind, and that's why I'm here for the long term. So it is what it is. Millionaires don't always make big bucks. Okay, hold on. This is what I wanted to get into, right? The next logical question is, what kind of salaries do wealthy people make? Well, not as much as you think. The majority of millionaires in this survey didn't even have high salary jobs. Okay. In fact, only 15% of millionaires were in senior leadership roles such as the VPs or the C-suite. Okay, so CEO, CFO, COO. 93% of millionaires said that they got their wealth because they worked hard, not because they had big. Okay, so here's the top 5 careers. You have engineer, you have an accountant, okay, teacher, hold on, let's highlight that one, management, which is very broad, don't know what that could be, and attorney. Okay, so I'm gonna remove the ones that don't mean anything for most people, right? Let's just, like, if I'm gonna go forward with this channel into pushing a certain side, left or right, we have to understand that you need to be put in a career that most people can get, right? And I'm going to hone in on these 3, right? Engineer is very broad. That can be anything from like an electrical engineer to software engineer. And if you work in IT, that's a very network engineer. Those are very broad sectors, to the point where if you like IT, you can start into help desk and you can hopefully level your up to be like a net admin, sysadmin, and all that stuff like that, right? Accountant slash CPA, that's working into a degree to get your CFP, CFA, and teacher. This is man, what? Like, just imagine that, a millionaire teacher, but like if you, the top 3, right? So out of the 10,000 careers, right? Like you're talking about 10K. These are the top 3. So being a teacher is not bad. Hold on. Let me bring up some extra data on this. Hold on. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the NEA, National Education, educator pay data. Hold on. Let's bring this up. Now this is the educator pay data for 2024. Education pay, blah blah blah. Okay, so national average for the starting teacher salary is $44,530, when the national average for the teacher, holy, is nearly 70K. Is that right? Is that right for most people, that most teachers make 70K? That must be like the super high, obviously average, right? The high can make 120 while the average can make 40. They're probably, narrowing it somewhere in the middle. But either way, if you look, we have to look at the data, right? That's the only thing we could follow on this channel. Just take a look. Hold on. Because I imagine New York and like Cali would be like the most expensive. Okay, so the average, yeah. So like the average in like New York is like 92, where, let's go to Cali, 95. Okay, so they're number 1. So the high is 95. Where do we think the low would be? Sorry, like Alabama, Mississippi. Okay, so the average, I'm pretty close. Where's 49? Alabama, Louisiana, 46. Wyoming? Nope. Okay, I can't find the last, but it's getting better. Don't forget to hydrate. Water up. Okay, either way, we understand that teachers are making that list, right? Back to the chart, back to the study. Only 31% of the averaged 100K or more over the course of their career. Okay, so breaking that down, 70% of people make below 100K and they were able to become a millionaire. Now, this is clearly going to be skewed to like the boomer age, because if you were to think about that now being the average of a millionaire, I need to know more about this study, right? I don't think he releases the actual details of the individuals in this PDF. Like I said, more will likely be to come. So make sure you subscribe to the channel for that, because I want to break down this, because essentially I just want to follow the money. I want to do what the people that are at the top do, right? All right, so we meet people of every possible story in the demographic who overcome barriers to build wealth, and it turns out that math works for all of us, especially if you don't understand it. To become income, the powerful tool, wealth building tool. He just added his quotes everywhere, right? Oh, now he's going to go into school. Millionaires go to college, but not to elite schools. The national study of millionaires showed. I love that he did this, and he's just this is the national study. I mean, unless someone else has more data, right? The national study of millionaires showed that it's the degree itself that matters, not where it comes from. And this is one thing that I wanted to foot stop. So many people truly believe that you need to go to a Harvard, you need to go to a Yale, you need to go to an Ivy League college. I truly don't believe that. Working with many HR marketing individuals, that like if you just get that check mark, because that's all they think about, right? There's three levels. Three levels, like Harvard. Oh my God, he went to Harvard, so therefore you're able to build business practices. You're able to get a network of Ivy League individuals. Then you go to like I've heard of that before, like, I don't know, something state. You go to a state level college, right? You go to that and everyone's like, okay, I've heard of that, right? Like I know of that. I know of Ohio State. And then realistically, you have everywhere else. Now at the bottom is obviously like, oh yeah, don't go there because I've heard bad things, which is one of those things like University of Phoenix, right? Like people know like I've heard bad things, right? Regardless of how you want to think of the accreditations, if it's good or bad or not, I've heard bad things, so you're gonna stay away from that. And realistically, as long as you can, hit this, as long as you can hit in the middle tier area with the minimum amount of student debt, which is going to like a WGU, going to some online college that just checks the box, because that's all you want to do at the end of the day, right? You want to just check the box. When a recruiter looks at your resume, you check the box there for like experience, you check the box there for education, you check the box there for like recent, all the other eligibility requirements. Like you check the box. That's all at the end of the day it wants. Like, are you going to go 100K into debt just to check a box? Or what if, you could get 10K to check the box? That's all up to you. I was able to get my master's with zero debt. Zero. Like I was able to have my employer pay for it. So are you able to check the box? Millionaires go to college, but it doesn't matter. Elite schools. Only 8% went to a prestigious private school. Prestigious private school. But the bulk of millionaires did get that paper. Okay, so if you're saying college is for dummies, well, most millionaires have their degree. So, if you want to follow the stats, you can follow the stats. This is literally coming from what to do, right? Okay, almost 2/3 graduated from a public university or state school. 88% of millionaires graduated from college. Are you going to follow the 90%, or are you going to follow the hypothetical Ivy League dropouts like Bill Gates? I mean, it's just like one of those things. Like people try to follow him, but he still got to Harvard, right? Most people can't even go to Harvard. Compared to the 38% of the general population. So yeah, so most people don't have a degree, right? But most millionaires have a degree. Just at the end of the day, check that box. Over half of the millionaires earned a master's or a doctoral, compared to the 13% of the general population. So put yourself in that upper echelon to follow the stats, right? So if most of them have this, then that's what you need to understand to get there. But you need to check that box to get there, on a shortcut. You need to get there with the elevator, right? Don't take the steps. Perception versus reality. Now, the overall dramatic difference between how Americans think wealthy people get their money and how they actually earn and or spend their money. Majority of the millionaires on the study have earned their money through long-term investing. When it comes to spending, millionaires use the common tool for saving, a shopping list. Okay, according to responses, 85% participants rely on a grocery list to some degree. Now, this is a weird study to take away. I use my shopping list. Me and my wife, we have like a shared Apple Notes. That's essentially just go here and get this. And when I go to the store, I follow. I literally stick to it. So make sure. I think to be fair, when you take away from any of this, It's like, have a plan with your money, right? Like, you have money, it should have a purpose. And that's what this is, right? Like, finding a purpose for your money. And about the study, okay, so that's literally the conclusion. Now, again, the link will be down in the description. The things to take away from this: invest in your retirement, continuously invest in your retirement, work in a skilled labor job, meaning that you will always be employed. Another thing would be, if you have dual income in the household, having dual income is probably the best thing that you could do realistically. I don't know anyone who would want to turn down free money. Also, having not paying debt for your college degree, right? Because one of those things, like, you need to have this check mark whenever you're going to look for employment, right? And understanding that you need to have a plan for your money. Now, a written grocery list is one of those weird ones, but like, have the takeaway of, have a plan for your money, right? Like, just overall know where your money is going to go whenever you get it. I just want to go over this study because I feel like a lot of people kept hearing about it, but there's not much to go on. So whenever he releases more, stay tuned, subscribe to the channel for that, because what a millionaire does, whatever the bulk of millionaires are doing, right? The 10,000 millionaires, you need to follow that. If you're not a millionaire, you need to follow that. That's what I'm doing. I'm following almost everything to a T here, along with all the other information that I put on this channel. And if you want to stay tuned for whenever I hit that 5K portfolio amount with literally $100. Again, we started off with $100 on this portfolio. Stay tuned for that. So that's all I wanted to talk about. Peace.